So, welcome to the new revolution. So this is the book I wrote. Buy it often, buy it early, give me 5 stars. There have been a number of folks who asked me, this whole maker revolution thing, it's kind of overblown, right? You're kind of hyping it a little too much. I've been to the Maker Faire. They got a lot of really cool, crafty projects, and the kids get to have a good time, and you got all the burners there doing their big art projects. But you know, come on, is this for real? And obviously, I wouldn't have written a book if I didn't think it actually was real. But I kind of want to walk through what's happened in my experience, give you a couple of examples, and then of course get off and onto the fun stuff here. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of TechShop. How many here have not heard of TechShop? Yeah, 3 or 4. All right, maybe more. So TechShop is a membership-based do-it-yourself fabrication studio. Membership-based means you pay $125 a month for access to all the tools that you need to make anything on the planet. $125 a month gives you access to all the tools. We teach classes. We don't assume that you know how to do anything, and we teach you how to use them kind of like your dad would or your mom. It's like you want to learn how to use a welding machine. 3 hours from now, you'll be using a welding machine. You want to learn how to use a computer numerically controlled mill. About 8 hours from now, you'll be using a numerically controlled mill. One of the things that's driving this is the ability to control machines using computers and being able to do the design work on the computer so that it turns you into a master craftsman very quickly. Each location is 20,000 square feet. We have over 850 members in each location. We have 8 locations across the US, about 6,500 members, and they're making everything from the little tchotchkes like I talked about, all the way up to lunar landers and small satellites. I got involved because I went to the first location in 2007, and I talked to 3 different entrepreneurs, hardware entrepreneurs back to back. Each one of them had just finished their initial prototype and told me that they had saved 98% of their development costs. When you move something as fundamental as that initial prototype from hundreds of thousands of dollars in cost to a few thousand, what happens is you've turned everybody in the middle class into a potential inventor. Everybody. Not just the few people who can afford to spend $100,000, $200,000, or $500,000 on something. And in fact, that it's so cheap, I like to say that if your first project fails, who cares? It was a cheap education. Try it again, and try it again, and try it again. I'll tell you a story about a guy in a minute. So I talked to those 3 entrepreneurs. Each of them had saved 98% of their development costs. Our San Francisco, Menlo Park, and San Jose locations, as far as we can tell, we've just recently done the math, have created $12 billion in shareholder value in about 5 years. 2,000 jobs, $200 million in annual salaries, $2 billion in annual sales. This is just in those 3 locations. What I love about Dublin is it reminds me of the Silicon Valley. You have the talent, you have the infrastructure, you have the desire, and you have the funding to replicate exactly what we've done in the Bay Area. So a couple of examples. This one's one of my favorites, which is I'll just show you some of my favorites. So I met Max out on one of the tables in San Francisco, and I asked him what he was doing. He said, I'm building a lamp. It's like, well, what's your background? So I'm a designer. I work for a large retailer. And I'm designing shelving units. I'm kind of bored. I'd really like to own my own lamp company. The kid was about 26 years old. So historically, if you wanted to launch a lamp company at 26, that basically meant you had to be independently wealthy already. Because no angel group on the planet is going to fund a 26-year-old to do a small lamp company. No venture capitalist is going to do it. No bank is going to loan you the money unless you've got a house of some kind. But now with Kickstarter and TechShop, you can spend maybe $500 to $1,000, learn how to use the tools you need to be able to make your prototype, launch a Kickstarter campaign, and launch your business. So Max came in and took the laser cutter class, $60 class, 2 hours. He then took the Arduino class and then spent about a week learning how to capture the code that he needed off the internet to be able to make this thing do what he wanted. And then he proceeded to tell me that he was looking for $60,000. And I told him, dude, 60 grand on Kickstarter is a lot of money. Half of the hardware startups fail when they ask for 2,500. At least that was the metric back then. Are you sure you need 60 grand? He walked me through why. It's like, okay, make sure it's a good video. Is that gorgeous or what? He raised $480,000, which created a different problem for him. You may have heard of Square, the peer-to-peer transaction processing play. Jack Dorsey, James McKelvey. So that came out of our Menlo Park location. But here's the interesting thing here. So James McKelvey and Jack Dorsey came up with the idea. Actually, it was James out of St. Louis. And went to the 10 ostensibly most brilliant investors on the planet. And they turned them down. This is Dorr, Koshla, all of those guys turned them down. Then what they did was they came to TechShop. James came to TechShop, built the initial prototypes, got it functioning, and then called them back up and said, we want to come back again, but we're not going to do a PowerPoint presentation. We're just going to come in and show you what we've done. So they literally go into Vinod Koshla's office, tell him, give me your American Express card, run it through, take $50 out of his bank account, and never give the money back. They raised $500 that way in their $10 million seed round. So here's the punchline. If Jack Dorsey can't raise money from the smartest investors on the planet, how in the world are you going to be able to do that without building the prototypes? Prototypes are fundamental to being able to get to that breakthrough. And thank goodness we now live in a day and age where we have 3D printers, and we have advanced manufacturing, and we have AutoCAD and software to be able to do that. You've got to get to that initial prototype if you want to be successful. So other things, and I'll finish real quickly, other things that have come out of TechShop. We've got 5 technologies that have come out of our location that have already changed the world. The world's most efficient data cooling center system. It was one of the 3 guys I initially met. They spent $20,000 on a system that is now recognized as the world's most efficient. This is in an area where the globe spends $250 billion a year on electricity just cooling data centers. And these 2 guys came up with a system that beat IBM, destroyed Emerson, and wiped out all of the other competitors in a head-to-head scientifically controlled experiment that the Department of Energy put together specifically to show off their technology, at which point Emerson immediately licensed the technology. 2 guys, 20 grand, 2 years, beat the best research development facilities in the planet in ostensibly what was their core competency. I'll finish with this one. You'll have to ask me what the other 3 are. So this is Embrace. It's an incubator blanket. It was originally designed by some young folks at Stanford University out of their D school. And the idea was they went on the World Health Organization website. They discovered that there are literally hundreds of thousands of babies that die every year because they're born 2 to 3 weeks too early. Their only problem is they can't control their body temperature, and they have 1 hour to get to an incubator. And in major parts of the world, that's not possible, and about 500,000 babies die every year as a result. So their idea was, is there a way of putting a polymer that would heat up and you could stick in the back of this that would extend that hour to something more? And they did. They got it to another hour. And then they graduated, which historically meant that their dream died, right? Because the school's not going to allow you to keep working in it. You don't have access to the tools that you need to actually perfect it, because those tools are hundreds of thousands of dollars, and a typical prototyping shop would charge you $300,000 to do it. But because Menlo Park was there, they joined for $125, finished off the sewing class, and then most importantly, and this is the real killer, when we land in a city and you have 850 members, we turn into the most creative cross-disciplinary hub of anywhere in the city every single day of the week. We have designers, we have engineers, we have software folks, we have artists, we have students, we have professors. In San Francisco, we have folks from Frog Design and IDEO and Levi's. We have those were the designers. We have engineers from Hewlett-Packard and Cisco. We have research scientists from SRI and Xerox PARC, and they're all hanging out together. Imagine the most creative makers in this city hanging out in the evening. And so what happened was a polymer chemist saddled up next to the chemist on here, asked him what his polymer was, and then proceeded to tell him that he could do better if he'd let him. And he extended that from 1 hour to 4 hours, which then effectively gives you a 5-hour radius. This blanket has already saved 87,000 babies. So the world has completely changed from a prototyping perspective in the last decade, and it's literally only been in the last decade. What used to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and required tons and tons of expertise and money now cost a few $1,000s, and introductory classes can get you to that first prototype, which can get you funded, which can enable you to change the world. So here's my mantra: change the world or die trying.